Before we start the video, I would like to remind you that you can gain access to all my projects on itch.io by supporting me with $1 on Patreon. In that regard, I would also like to take a moment to say thanks to all my patrons, because I wouldn't be able to keep making these videos without you, so thank you so much for all your support. I'd also like to say thanks to Victor for his tier 4 sub this month, and special thanks to James Bond for his tier 5 sub again this month. In this video, we are going to learn how to pick up our weapons, because right now when we run the game, we are able to use all the weapons at once without actually achieving them or picking them up. So first of all, we need to make sure that we can't use the weapons unless we have picked them up. And to do that, we need to open up our scripts, find our player, and then we need to find our player actions. And we also need to open up our player. Let's see here if it is opening up. I think it put it on the screen. So let's see here, let's keep the player actions, and the player stats. So actually I'm going to remove or close these. Okay, so first of all we need to indicate which weapons the player has. So we can go to player stats, and in here we already have one weapon. We actually need to make a property called of type weapon. Actually I want to make it into a dictionary, I guess. So let's do that. Dictionary weapon, and then a bool that indicates if this weapon is activated or not, if we have it or not, basically. And we are going to call this weapons. We're just going to instantiate it over here. And there we go. Okay, so we need to put in the weapons first of all. So we go to our player script, and down here, after we've created all our animations, then we can start adding the weapons. So we say stats dot weapons dot add weapon dot fists true, because we have the fists right away. We can copy this one and paste it a couple of times, and then we have our gun and our sword. And we set these to false. So we only have our fists when we start the game. We then need to use this inside our player actions, where we have try swap weapon. Inside try swap weapon, we will have to check if we have the weapon before we actually swap the weapon. So we say if player dot stats dot weapons weapon, if that one is true, oops, not weapon like that, this one, then we would like to swap our weapon. So we do like this. So if the weapon we have, we're trying to swap to gun, for example, if that bool that is hidden on that or saved on that spot here, if that one is true, then we swap to it right there. So if we save it now and we go out in our game and run it, we will not be able to swap weapons anymore. So you can see 1 and 2 doesn't do anything, so I can only punch. 1 and 2 doesn't do anything. So if I would go in here in my script and go to the player and say, well, the gun is true actually. So if we save that and go back here and rerun the game, I should be able to switch to the gun. And I am. So now I can switch to the gun, and I can switch back to the fists. So as you can see, there was actually a problem with the gun animation. There's like the hand goes up here. We are going to fix that before this video ends, so it looks better. And we're also going to put a muzzle flash out here when you shoot, and at the same time we're also going to show the swipe behind the swords. When he swipes with the sword, there's going to be a swipe effect before it. Anyway, now we are able to decide what weapon we have. So let's put this back to false. We know it works. Now we need to create the weapons that we can pick up. Later in the game, we are going to have other items that we can collect, for example, apples. So we're going to make a new folder called Collectibles. So the Collectibles will go in this folder, and then we are going to create another script called iCollectible, which is going to be an interface. if we're going to open it up here and change it into an interface, public interface, and remove these and model behavior like that. And it's simply going to have a method called collect. And that's it. That's all it's going to have. I think I'm not sure if we're going to add more later, but for now, collectibles will only be able to, just be collected. So iCollectible is collectible. Then we can go back here and make another script called weapon pickup, I guess, so we don't confuse it with the other weapon class. So weapon pickup. Yeah, not pick. That's that good. So let's try to, instead of renaming this, let's just delete it and create it again. And let's go here on weapon pickup. So this is my weapon pickup, and it's going to be attached to a weapon in the game. So actually I'm going to create a new 2D object with a sprite, and let's see if we have a sword here. Just going to put it over there. And as you can see already, the box here around is pretty big, so we need to say add box collider 2D, and it's too big, so we're going to shrink it a bit there, so that it fits with the size of the actual sword better, so it doesn't look like you pick it up like from too far distance. I think this is okay, and then maybe something like this. There we go. Okay, and this is going to be called sword. We're just going to test this with the sword. We just need to do the same thing with the gun afterwards, and I think I will leave that up to you. There's no reason for me to do the same multiple times. Anyway, this is the sword, and we need to give it a tag. So basically what tag we're going to be looking for is collectible. So we go to tags, add a tag called, let's create it here, collectible. So we can test if it's collectible. Then we select the sword and add that tag to it, so we know that this one can be collected, and the same will go for our apples later when we're going to place them. And then we need to add the weapon pickup script. And that's it. So let's open it up and see what we actually need to do in here. First of all, we need to make a private weapon called weapon. So this is the type of the weapon we are going to pick up, and we're going to serialize that. So if we had more weapons, let's say that we had hundreds of weapons in this game, then we would recognize it by types. There would be guns, machine guns, swords, other things, and we would hold all guns the same way. But in this game, we only have 3 weapons: fists and our gun and our sword. So we're going to specify exactly what kind of weapon it is. Then I am going to make a property. Actually, let's just do it like this, so we can access this from other scripts. So when the player collides with the weapon, we can ask the weapon what kind it is, so that we know what weapon to enable on the player. Then we delete these, and we say iCollectible, right click on it, quick actions, and implement the interface, and it will create a collect method if it's not too slow. There we go. And that's it. So this one should be called whenever we collide with it. Okay, so before we implement this collect method, let's see if we can collide with the weapon. So I guess we will need to check for some collision somewhere, and that would be a good place to do it in the player. So let's see, we have update and all kinds of things. Take it, we haven't implemented any collisions yet. So let's make a private void on trigger enter 2D. And then we have a collision action. So we need to go to our actions actually. Let's do that. Player actions. Let's see, we don't have that either. Nope. So we're going to make a method called collide, and we're going to give it a collider 2D. The reason we're doing that is because we just want to separate it from the other things, so we're just going to have it as, so if the collision dot tag is collectible, what then? Then we say collision get component iCollectible collect. So this method here will run on the player because the player actions is attached to will be attached to the player. Or sorry, the player will call this in here. We check the tag, and if it's collectible, well, then we simply just get the iCollectible interface and call collect, which means this line of code basically looks at the weapon and call this method here. So right now, let's just destroy, or actually, let's see here. We actually need to have a mono behavior here, like that, because we need to be able to say destroy game object, for example. So this will destroy the sword if we collide with it. However, there's no link between this method right now and the actual player's onTrigger enter. So basically we need to say actions dot collide and pass in collision here. Okay, so when the player collides with the sword, this method should be called. This method will look into the player's actions and call the collide method inside the player's actions. Inside the player actions, it will check, well, is this one collectible? If the one I hit is collectible, then I will try to get the iCollectible interface. And inside the iCollectible interface, anything that implements that will call its collect method, which in this case will destroy the weapon. Okay. If we run it now, it's not going to work. Let's try. We will walk into the sword and nothing happens. And that's because we haven't set up the correct collision. So let's try to do that. Let's try to add a component as a box collider 2D. And let's take this one and actually make it a bit bigger. Just goes above the feet. Oops, not there. And up here. And that's it. I guess that's okay if we do like that. So now we have an actual box collider on the fox. I'm not sure if we want to cover his ears with it, if it's important to be able to collide with the ears. I guess this is okay. Anyway, with that set up, we need to make sure that this is a trigger. Oops, sorry. Yeah, this one is a trigger. Because right now the box collider down here is not a trigger because it stops from falling through the ground like that. So the one on the bottom here is a solid one because it hits the ground, and this top one is a trigger. If we would put this one as a trigger as well, would fall through. And if you have noticed, inside our collision code, we wrote onTrigger into 2D, and that's because we're looking for a trigger. Okay, so let's see if this works or if we need to do more work. So let's see here, we run it, fall down, and we walk into the sword, and we can't move into it. So why can't we move into it? Well, the sword as well needs to have a trigger set, I guess. Let's try again. As you saw, there's some collision, and there we go. So now I walked into the sword and it just disappeared from me. So what I have to do now is to make sure that I can use the sword after I pick it up. So we need to go back to the, where's this collect method? Let's go here. Oops, not there. Let's see here, weapon pick up. We pick this up and we destroy the game object. Well, I guess we need to do something else, right? We need to say find object of type player dot actions dot pick up pick up weapon and pass in the weapon. Okay. So pickup weapon doesn't exist, so right click and say quick actions and generate method. And this will, inside our player, make a pickup method. Let's see here, if we go to this one, go to definition, there we go. Inside our player action, sorry. And in here, we simply have to say, well, we take in a weapon and we say, well, this weapon is now enabled, so we need to set it to true. So we say player.stats weapons weapon true. Here player stat weapons weapon true. So we need to look through the dictionary, of course. So if we do that now, it should set it to true when we go into the sword. So if I press 3 now, I can't pick up the sword, so I go in it, then I press free again. Oops, and I forgot to call the method, I guess. Let's see here. I guess we actually didn't set the sword. Let's see here. Yeah, so the weapon is right now fists, but I need to make sure that this is a sword. So I do like that. So now it should work if I walk into it. Let's see here, go into it, and there we go. And I have a sword in my hand. So we need to do the same thing for the gun, and I said I didn't really want to do it for the gun, but anyway, we can duplicate the sword. We can go up here, write gun, then take the gun in. Let's see, where is it? Looks fine actually. We just move this one over here, and we need to change the name to gun. We need to fit the collision box a bit better, with a bit up here, and then use this kind of like that. It doesn't need to be 100% perfect. And actually we could also just, if we reset, then it will take the right shape actually. Anyway, this one needs to be a gun. So if we select that and go back here, run it again. If I pick up this one, oh, I forgot to put it as a trigger. Let's try one more time. It's like, I guess I'm going to do that every single time, even though, like, no matter how many weapons I create. So now we have a gun, and we also can pick up a sword. So we can pick up a gun and pick up a sword. So 2 things we need to do before we end this. Fix the little hand thing here. It looks weird that the hand is moving up. So let's do that real quick. I'm not sure you have the same bug. You might not even have it. So Rick, and let's say body sword, was it not sword, gun attack. See? So when I run this, the right arm goes up like that. I don't want that. So let's see here. We can record. We go all the way here. And see there. We still want it to be with the other one and move it forward. Here we still want it to go down. Like that. So there is a bit of stutter here. And here it also moves a bit too much. And there we go. So let's try to see how it looks now if I pick up the gun and shoot. Take the gun there, shoot, and now it looks better, right? Okay, so the muzzle flash, how do you do that? Well, we actually go to our shoulder, right arm, hand, and enable the gun. And in here we actually say sprites. Where are they? There. And weapons, and we have the fire. Put that under the gun as a child. Simply just take it and put it. Oh, I can't move it like that. Let's see here. Hello, there we go. And then we say that the fire has a pixels per unit to 300. Apply that, and the same goes for the swipe, 300. There we go. The fire needs to be put in front of the gun. So let's rotate it a bit, like so, and put it here with the gun so that it looks like fire comes out of the gun. Pretty okay. We disable the fire. We select the sword as well. And on the sword we put a swipe. So we take the swipe and put it as a child of the sword and move the swipe all the way down here. Make sure the swipe has a order in there to 3 or something, so it goes in front of other things, and rotate it so that it goes like something like this, I guess. It's up to you where you want to put it. I'm just going to put it here, there. Could also put it in the top here if you want it to more like align with the top of the sword. That's basically up to you. It's not going to be easy to see how it looks anyway. Anyway. And with that done, you also disable the swipe, and you disable the gun and the sword. So now we're going to enable them. So we select the body sword attack, and you can see when you do this, you can play the animation. So we enable the sword, and we disable the swipe. So when he lifts up the sword, and when he starts coming down forward there, maybe here, we will click the record button, select the swipe, and enable it. And it's going to be there until we start pulling backwards, which is right there. So here it's going to end right there. So we're going to take the swipe and disable it again. So now when we play it, we will have a swipe that comes up when we attack. So the same goes for the gun. Let's see here, let's select the body gun attack. We need to give him a gun in his hand first of all. There. Then we move forward and let's see, where do we want to put it? We shoot right there, right? So here we need to click record, enable the muzzle flash, and we disable it maybe here. There we go. So when we play it, it's going to be a muzzle flash every time we shoot. And we can see how it looks in game if we disable the gun and run the game. So yeah, we pick up the gun here. There we go. And shoot like that. And if we pick up the sword, we can attack with the swipe on it now. So it looks way better now. So that is what I want to do in this video. Thank you so much for watching. And if you liked the video, please remember to click the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really helps me out. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.